Jinx stood at the front of the glass-walled conference room, fingers curled tightly around the presentation remote. The screen behind him glowed with charts and projections, but he barely saw them. What he did see was Jinu Kang, who, sitting at the head of the table, posture immaculate, expression carved from ice. Jinx swallowed and began to speak. As you can see from the third quarter analysis, oh, Jinx looks good like this. The thought slammed into Jinx's head so hard he nearly flinched. He paused for half a second. That hadn't been his thought. Jinx continued, voice steady. Our engagement metrics have increased by 12%. The way his mouth moves when he talks. Fuck, Jinx's breath stuttered. His gaze flicked straight to Jinu. The Alpha CEO was still composed, still cold. One hand resting casually on the table. No hint that those filthy thoughts were coming from him. Jinx's ears burned as another thought rolled in. He has no idea what he's doing to me. Standing there, looking pretty. Pretty? Jinx almost dropped the remote. Around the table, the room was calm, professional, while inside Jinx's head everything spiraled. I'd pin him to this table, make him look at me like that. Jinx's throat went dry. He forced himself to click to the next slide. Our proposed campaign focuses on emotional branding. I wonder how he would sound when he begs. That did it. Jinx lost his place completely. Words tangling. I mean brand loyalty through. A pause stretched. Then Jinu spoke aloud for the first time. Take your time, Mr. Jinx. His voice was deep, controlled, completely at opposite of the thoughts still pouring into Jinx's mind. God, he's flustered. Such a cute Omega. Jinx clenched his jaw so hard it ached. He finished the presentation on autopilot, cheeks flushed, pulse racing. When he finally ended with a stiff bow of his head, the room filled with polite applause. Good work, Jinu said calmly. We'll discuss revisions later. As everyone stood to leave, Jinx gathered his tablet with shaking hands, praying that whatever this was would stop. The conference room emptied, and Jinx stood alone for a moment, staring at the blank screen, his heart still racing. That hadn't happened. It couldn't have. He gathered his tablet and turned toward the door. Mr. Jinx, Jinu's voice stopped in cold. Jinx turned slowly. The CEO stood near the doorway, suit immaculate, expression unreadable as ever. No emotion, just the same distant authority he always wore. Yes, sir, Jinx said, forcing his voice to sound normal. Jinu studied him for a long second. You lost your place during the presentation, Jinu said calmly. That's not like you. I didn't sleep well, Jinx replied quickly. Jinu nodded once. Next time, prepare better. Yes, sir. The CEO stepped aside, allowing him to pass. Their shoulders nearly brushed, close enough for Jinx to catch that clean, sharp scent again. He smells unfairly good. Another thought caused Jinx to flinch. He bowed slightly and fled the room, walking fast down the corridor. Then to his office. Only then did he stop. His chest rose and fell unevenly. No, he whispered to himself. No way. That night, Jinx lay on his bed fully dressed, lights off, staring at the ceiling. Maybe he was hallucinating due to stress. He Googled it. Lack of sleep, pressure, anxiety can cause your brain could do weird things. There was no way he could hear thoughts. Especially not that man's thoughts. Jinu Kang didn't think things like that. He was cold, controlled, untouchable. An alpha who barely acknowledged anyone's existence. Jinx rolled onto his side, burying his face into the pillow. He pressed his palms over his ears, like that might help. I'm imagining it. Tomorrow, everything would be normal. Tomorrow, Jinu would be distant and professional. Tomorrow, there would be no voice in his head that wasn't his own. Jinx lay back down, squeezing his eyes shut. The next morning, Jinx sat at his desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard. He tried to focus on the quarterly report, but the memory of those thoughts kept crawling back into his mind. Hey, Jinx, a cheerful voice said. He looked up. It was Heijun from marketing, leaning casually against his desk, smile wide. You did a great job yesterday. Really impressive. Jinx forced a polite smile. Thanks. Appreciate it. Heijun slid closer, examining the charts on Jinx's screen. You know, if you ever need help with these presentations, I could give you some tips. I've been told I'm persuasive. Jinx laughed it off, nodding politely. Just then he felt a subtle pull. The air shifted. Jinx's head jerked slightly. My Omega looks so good when he's focused. I could just… His pulse skipped. The thought wasn't Heijun's. Jinx's gaze flicked toward the doorway, and there he was, Jinwoo, stepping out of the glass elevator, scanning the office with his usual icy composure. Why does he have to be here now? Jinx's stomach dropped. His hands trembled slightly on the keyboard. Heijun leaned closer, grinning. You okay? You look distracted. Jinx cleared his throat. I'm totally fine. Jinwoo stopped just a few feet away, eyes scanning the office until they landed on Jinx. The world seemed to narrow around him. Jinx, his talking to someone else. The thought hit Jinx. Heijun's grin faltered slightly, noticing the flush on Jinx's cheeks. Everything okay, Jinx? Jinx stuttered, managing a weak nod. Yeah, I'm fine. Jinwoo turned on his heel without a word and walked past. Later that afternoon, Jinx walked into the elevator, tablet clutched tightly to his chest. He'd just finished sending the report to the team and hoped the rest of the day would be uneventful. The elevator doors opened, and Jinwoo stepped in. The small space felt suddenly suffocating. Jinx's pulse raced. He pressed himself against the opposite corner, trying to focus on the floor. Jinx. The voice wasn't said aloud, but it was there in his mind. Jinx's fingers tightened on the tablet. He smells like, so good. I want him to stay close. Jinwoo's sharp gaze flicked toward him, and he immediately looked the other way shyly. Jinx felt like his eyes were deceiving him. There's no way the cold CEO was behaving shy with him. I should just reach out and touch him. Just once, Jinx's face burned. He turned quickly, staring at the elevator wall instead. The doors opened at Jinwoo's floor. He stepped out, still perfectly composed. The door closed and Jinx leaned back against the wall, knees weak, chest pounding. I need to stop thinking about him. I need to stop hearing him. Few hours later, Jinx was at his office when his phone buzzed on his desk, jolting him from the spreadsheet he was trying to focus on. Yes? Jinx answered. Come to my office, Jinwoo said, calm and clipped. We need to go over some revisions. Now. Yes, sir. Jinx hung up and took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Every time he was near Jinwoo, the air seemed to thicken. He walked down the hall, tablet clutched tightly against his chest. He reached the office and stepped inside. He felt it again, a subtle pull in his mind. Jinx looks so good. Looking like that makes me want to grab him, tie him up. Jinx froze mid-step, his face flushed, throat suddenly dry. The alpha looked up, calm. Sit down, he said. We need to review the marketing strategy for next quarter. Jinx obeyed, sitting stiffly across from him. The desk was a barrier, but it didn't help much. Halfway through the meeting, Jinx's phone buzzed again. A message from Heijun popped up. Hey, lunch later? Jinx's pulse skipped. He felt the air shift with something. Jealousy, protectiveness, his talking to someone else. My Jinx. The thought hit his mind like a live wire. Heat pulled low in his stomach, sharp and distracting. Jinx blinked rapidly, trying to force his attention back to the spreadsheet on the screen. Jinwoo's eyes trailed over him, from head to toe. He looks irresistible when flustered. Jinx felt his cheeks burn. Stop it. Stop thinking that. Jinwoo leaned back slightly, scanning the numbers again, his expression neutral, professional. If only I could reach over and make him mine right now. Just feel his warmth, hear him whimper underneath me. Jinx's fingers curled around the edge of the desk. He couldn't look at Jinwoo directly. His brain scrambled to focus, to breathe. When the meeting finally ended, Jinwoo stood, tall and composed as always. Well, finalize these edits by tomorrow, he said. Jinx nodded, hands still trembling slightly. When Jinx finally reached his office, he exhaled sharply and buried his face in his hands. Why couldn't he stop hearing him? It was a week later, after Jinx has tried avoiding Jinwoo for the whole week. The alpha had called him into his office to review some financial documents. The office was silent, as most employees had left half an hour ago, leaving Jinx alone at Jinwoo's office. Jinwoo was standing a few feet away, reviewing the latest financial documents with meticulous focus. Do you think we should reallocate the budget for marketing? Jinwoo asked, voice calm. I think that might work, Jinx replied, fingers hovering nervously over the keyboard. He didn't dare look up. As he glanced, though, Jinwoo had stepped closer. closing the space between them. Instantly, Jinx felt the thoughts invading his mind. I want to touch him, just once. Jinx's stomach plummeted. He backed up slightly, heart hammering. Move over here, he muttered, retreating toward the edge of the desk. Move closer. I want to see him flustered. Jinx froze. He could hear it. Every unfiltered, dangerous thought, and it was driving him insane. I think these numbers look fine, he said quickly, trying to focus on anything else. Jinnu didn't comment. He just moved a step closer, close enough that their arms nearly brushed. Jinx jumped back reflexively, knocking his chair slightly. Delicate, perfect little body. Jinx, Jinnu said suddenly, sharply. Yes, sir, Jinx whispered, voice shaking. Come with me. Jinx blinked. Pardon? To the gala next week. You're attending with me. Jinx's mind froze. Gala? Public event? Together? I don't think, he started, trying to refuse. You will. The voice was calm, impossible to argue with, almost a command. Jinx's knees felt weak. He wanted to refuse, but he can't say no to his boss. Yes, sir, Jinx murmured, barely audible. Jinus' expression didn't change. He nodded once and turned back to the documents. Jinx sank into his chair. This is going to be impossible, Jinx thought to himself. Before Jinx knew it, it was next week already, and they were at the gala. The gala hall glittered with chandeliers and polished marble floors. Guests in sleek evening gowns and tailored suits mingled, champagne glasses tinkling in the background. Jinx felt out of place in his suit. Jinnu stood beside him, and unlike at the office, here, Jinnu actually looked human. Polished, yes, but approachable. You're quiet, Jinnu said as he handed Jinx a glass of champagne. Jinx blinked, flustered. I'm fine. Fine? He's adorable like this. Makes me want to lean in and just kiss him. Jinx froze. The thought hit his mind like a spark. His ears burned. He had to look away, forcing his eyes to the sparkling chandelier above. I don't often get a chance to see you outside the office, Jinnu continued, voice carrying a rare softness. Tell me, your family, your life outside work. You never mention it. Jinx blinked, heart thudding. He hadn't expected this. Jinnu continued. Tell me about your parents. Do you have siblings? Jinx swallowed, his face flushing. I have an older sister. She's studying abroad, and my parents live in the countryside. I see, Jinnu said, casually, eyes scanning him with interest. You're doing well tonight, he said softly. Better than you think. Jinx nodded in appreciation. A few hours went by, and after the gala, Jinx realized that he actually enjoyed conversing with Jinnu. Except from the dirty thoughts that keeps rolling off of him, Jinnu was really nice. It was another week at the office. The office was quiet after hours. Jinx sat at his desk, fingers drumming nervously, eyes fixed on the report in front of him, but he wasn't really reading it. Jinnu appeared quietly behind him, leaning casually against the desk. You've been working late a lot recently, he said smoothly. Are you managing everything okay? Jinx's stomach tightened. He could feel Jinnu's presence like a magnet pulling at him, and as usual, his thoughts about him. God, look at him, sitting there. I want him to lean back, spread those legs slightly. Jinx flinched. Heat pooled low in his stomach, sudden and sharp. He stood abruptly. Yes, everything's fine. He stammered. Jinnu's eyes flicked toward him calmly. Good, I just wanted to check. You know, I worry about you. I want to grab him, press him against me. Feel how soft he is. Jinx froze mid-step, his chest tight. He could no longer pretend that he was imagining things. Stop it. The Omega suddenly burst out, voice louder than intended. He spun around to face Jinnu, cheeks flushed, chest heaving. Just keep quiet. Jinnu froze, genuinely shocked. His dark eyes widened slightly, his composed mask faltering for the first time. What? He started, but Jinx cut him off. I hear everything you're thinking, especially about me. Jinnu's mouth opened, then closed, words failing him. What? Jinx took a deep breath, chest heaving, eyes blazing. Your thoughts. That last one, the one about me sitting here, about how I look, how I'd taste if you. He swallowed quickly, trying to control his voice. That one. The alpha's expression went from confusion to shock to disbelief in a heartbeat. He stepped back instinctively, running a hand over his jaw. You can hear that? He asked finally, voice low, incredulous. Yes, Jinx snapped. I hear everything when you're near, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of pretending." For the first time, Jinwoo looked unarmed. He hadn't expected this. Hadn't imagined anyone could hear his thoughts, let alone confront him like this. The cool, composed alpha CEO had just been called out, and for the first time, he didn't have the upper hand. Jinwoo stood frozen near the desk. His lips parted, then closed again. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly flustered. I didn't realize," Jinwoo stammered finally, voice low and unsteady. I'm sorry. I never meant to make you feel uncomfortable." Jinx's breath hitched. He had expected denial. Maybe some cold dismissal, but not this. Jinwoo, embarrassed, apologizing. It was almost disarming. "It's fine," Jinx muttered quickly, avoiding his gaze. "Just don't do it again, please." Jinwoo stepped closer, hesitating, careful this time. His usual alpha dominance was tempered by something softer. I really am sorry," Jinwoo said again, softer this time. "I didn't mean to think those things about you like that." Jinx's heart fluttered. Is actually embarrassed? For a moment, Jinwoo looked at Jinx in curiosity, wondering how he was able to hear his thoughts. Only two answers came to mind. Either Jinx was his destined mate, which would explain his painful attraction toward him, or Jinx was a magician. Jinx looked up cautiously, testing the waters. You shouldn't think things like that around me," he said quietly, voice shaky but firm. Jinwoo's eyes flicked away briefly, embarrassed, then back to him. "Right, of course. Control myself." It was the next day. The office was quiet again. Late in the evening, Jinx was organizing files at his desk, trying to focus. But he could feel Jinwoo's presence behind him before he even heard the soft click of the door. "Jinx," Jinwoo said, voice calm but carrying a faint hesitation. Jinx stiffened. "Yes, sir." Jinwoo stepped closer, leaning on the edge of the desk near him. His usual commanding aura was softened tonight, a hint of awkwardness in his posture. I just wanted to check the budget figures again," he muttered, though his gaze lingered a little too long. "His ass shouldn't look that good in those pants. Makes me want to." Jinx's ears practically caught fire. He spun around, glare sharp. "Sir," he hissed, voice low but furious. Don't say things like that." Jinwoo froze, realizing too late he'd accidentally let his thoughts run wild again. Sorry," he stammered, voice tight, a faint blush coloring his usually pale cheeks. "You're just too cute." Jinx's stomach flipped. His face heated, and he swallowed hard, trying to regain composure. Just then, Jinwoo's initial embarrassment faded into a slow, dangerous smirk. "Now that I know," he murmured, stepping closer, "that you could hear me before, there's no need to pretend anymore." Jinx's pulse hit his throat. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Jinwoo's eyes darkened, intent and playful all at once. He moved carefully, deliberately, until Jinx's back pressed against the wall, the desk far enough behind them to leave no escape. "I mean, I don't have to hold back," Jinwoo said, low, close enough for Jinx to feel his breath. "I can think whatever I want and say whatever I want." Jinx's cheeks turned red. He tried to step back, but his back was already touching the wall. "Sir," he whispered, voice trembling. Jinwoo tilted his head, studying him like he was an irresistible puzzle. "And you look even better when you're flustered," he said softly, teasing, almost intimate. Jinx's heart raced uncontrollably. He wanted to glare, to push Jinwoo away. But the words, the closeness, it was too much. His throat went dry. Jinwoo's smirk deepened, enjoying every second of Jinx's flustered expression. "Relax. I'm not going to bite, yet," he murmured, letting the teasing linger, dangerous and electric. Jinx had no words, no defense, only the racing of his heart and the awareness that Jinwoo was completely aware of his effect on him now. Jinx swallowed hard. The air felt thick, charged, like the office itself was holding its breath. Jinwoo stood too close, close enough that Jinx could sense the alpha pheromones that made his knees weak. "You said the files were done," Jinx managed. "So, I should go." Jinwoo raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Running already?" The thought brushed against Jinx's mind, intimate and teasing. Yes," Jinx said quickly, answering his thought. "It's late." For a moment, Jinu simply watched him, head tilted, expression unreadable. Then he sighed and took a step back, giving Jinx space at last. "Go," Jinu said, tone calm again, professional enough that it almost felt unreal after everything that had just happened. "I won't keep you." Jinx nodded, clutching his bag to his chest like a shield, and turned toward the door. His hand closed around the handle. He tried opening it. Nothing happened. Jinx froze. "Oh no," he whispered. The door didn't budge when he tried again. Behind him, Jinu chuckled softly. "Security locks after 10, he said easily. "You need a senior clearance to exit." Jinx turned slowly, panic flickering across his face. "You're kidding." Jinu's eyes softened. "I wouldn't joke about that." For one terrifying second, Jinx thought that he was truly stuck. But then Jinu reached into his pocket, pulling out his access card. "Relax," he said, stepping past Jinx, too close again, but brief this time, and swiped the card. The lock disengaged and Jinx exhaled shakily, relief flooding through him. "Thank you." Jinu paused at the door, glancing back at him. "You really are cute when you're flustered." Jinx's face burned. "Good night, Jinx," Jinu said aloud. Jinx didn't trust himself to speak. He nodded, slipped through the doorway, and practically fled toward the elevator. It was another Monday, and Jinx stood at the front of the conference room, pointer in hand, trying to focus on the presentation slides. The executives around the table scribbled notes and nodded at the right moments, but Jinx's attention was pulled elsewhere, toward the Alpha CEO sitting at the head of the table. Jinu's gaze was calm, unreadable, yet the moment their eyes met, Jinx's chest tightened. You could feel it before he even heard the thought. "God, he looks so good standing there. I wonder how soft he is under that shirt." Jinx froze mid-sentence, pointer trembling slightly. His ears burned, and he cleared his throat awkwardly. The marketing campaign will, reach our target audience effectively," he stammered. "I'd love to see him bend over the desk." Jinx's face flushed bright red. He clenched the pointer like a lifeline, refusing to glance at Jinu. "Look at him trying to focus. Adorable. I could make him forget all the numbers just by touching him." Jinx nearly dropped the pointer. He forced himself to continue, hoping nobody else noticed his panic. He tried to ignore the wild, intimate thoughts invading his mind. After the presentation ended and polite applause filled the room, Jinx let out a shaky breath. Jinu stood, collected, and nodded at the team. "Good work, everyone," he said aloud. Then he paused, looking at Jinx with a faint smirk. "You're trembling. Perfect. I could watch you like this forever." Jinx froze. The Alpha's thoughts were teasing him mercilessly. He stepped out of the conference room first, eager to escape, but Jinu's presence followed. He felt Jinu leaning slightly closer, not touching, just existing, and the teasing thoughts continued. "So tense. I like that. Makes me want to touch him. See him squirm." Jinx's jaw tightened. He looked up and glared. "Stop it," he muttered under his breath. Jinu's smirk deepened, and he leaned just slightly closer. "Stop what?" he said aloud, feigning innocence. Jinx flushed and turned away, heart hammering. It was the next week. The week dragged. The Alpha boss hadn't shown up since Monday. The usual calm authority and magnetic presence were gone, replaced by Jinu's secretary running the office in a firm, no-nonsense manner. Jinx typed furiously, trying to focus on spreadsheets, reports, and presentations, but his mind kept wandering. Where is he? Is he okay? Every day felt longer than the last. Every glance toward the office door only deepened his worry. The pull he always felt around Jinu was missing, replaced by a hollow ache. By Friday evening, he shut his laptop and leaned back in his chair, exhausted. His thoughts kept spinning. Maybe he's sick, or on some business trip, but why didn't he tell anyone? Jinx was home that night, curled up in his apartment in his soft pajamas, trying to relax with a book. The evening was quiet, and he was just starting to drift to sleep when a sharp knock sounded at the door. His heart skipped. Visitors at this hour weren't usual. He set the book aside. He opened the door slowly and froze. Jinu stood there. His shirt was half open, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. His eyes were dark, hooded, and wild. His usual control shattered in a way Jinx had only ever glimpsed in thoughts. He was in rut, and it was written all over his posture, the heat radiating off him, the subtle flush across his jaw and neck. "Jinoo?" Jinx whispered, stepping back instinctively. His pulse thundered. Jinoo's gaze flicked up and down Jinx's body, lips parted slightly. "I couldn't wait any longer," he admitted, voice low, ragged, controlled yet raw. "He's here, and he's in rut." Jinx swallowed, chest tight. He wanted to slam the door, but a part of him, the part that had been aching all week, wanted him to step inside. You shouldn't have come like this," Jinx finally managed, voice trembling, both nervous and flustered. "I couldn't help it," Jinoo admitted, taking a small step forward. "I've been losing control all week." Jinx's heart raced, losing control, and he came here. His palms were sweaty, knees weak, the air between them charged with desire, frustration, and that dangerous tension that had been building for months. Jinx backed up instinctively as Jinoo stepped closer. He walked inside the apartment, closing the door behind him with a click. The alpha's presence was overwhelming and dangerously close. Every instinct screamed to push away, but another part of him, a part that had been aching all week, wanted exactly this. Jin's voice was low as he leaned in, lips dangerously close to Jinx's ear. "I know why you can hear my thoughts, and why I desperately want you," he murmured. Jinx froze. "What do you mean?" "Because you're mine." Jin's thoughts slithered into Jinx's mind before he even realized it. Jinx stumbled back, eyes wide. "Yes," Jinoo said aloud, smirk darkening. "You hear only me, because we're mates." Jinx's knees nearly buckled. "Mates?" he whispered, voice trembling. Jin's lips curved in a teasing smile. "It's why we can communicate like this." He tilted his head, eyes gleaming with amusement. "Want to try?" Before Jinx could protest, Jin's mind brushed against his own. "Say something to me, Jinx." Jinx gasped, stumbling. "I can't. Try." His pulse raced. Hesitantly, he focused, and the words appeared in Jin's mind like magic. "Hello?" Jin's smirk widened, dark and satisfied. "There it is. Perfect." "You can hear me?" Jinx asked through his mind. "Yes, I can," Jinoo replied, invading his mind further, teasing. "You look so cute when you're flustered. Look at you, trembling like this." Jinoo pressed closer. "I know you want this, 'cause I can feel it, so say it. Tell me you want this. Tell me you want me." Jinx's hands shook. He wanted to resist, but the connection was overwhelming, deliciously maddening. He could no longer ignore the pull between them. Jinoo invaded his head again. "Tell me how badly you've wanted this. Tell me." Jinx shivered, heart hammering. "I want you." "Good," Jinoo purred. "You're not hiding it anymore. Look at you, flushed, all mine." Jinx's knees almost buckled, but Jinoo steadied him, hands firm yet gentle against his shoulders. "You feel it too, don't you?" Jinoo whispered aloud, voice low and rough. "The bond, the pull?" Jinx's lips parted, unable to speak, overwhelmed by the sensation. "Yes," he finally admitted mentally, voice trembling in the link. "Good," Jinoo murmured, smirk darkening, thumbs brushing lightly over his upper arms. "Now, don't hide it. Let me feel it." Jinx's back was pressed against the wall when Jinoo finally moved, slow, deliberate, giving him every chance to pull away. Jinx didn't. Jin's hand came up first, fingers brushing Jinx's jaw, thumb tilting his chin up gently. The touch was careful. "It'll be gentle," Jinoo murmured, through the bond. "Tell me if it's too much." Jinx's breath shook. His heart pounded so hard he was sure Jinoo could feel it. "I want you," he admitted softly through the link. Embarrassment and honesty tangled together. Jinoo exhaled like that was all he'd needed to hear. Then Jinoo leaned in, slow enough that Jinx could stop him. Slow enough that when their lips met, it felt like heaven. The kiss was soft. Jinx melted, his hands fisted in Jin's shirt without thinking, the mate bond humming between them. Jinoo deepened the kiss just slightly, coaxing rather than taking. "Mine," the thought came. Not possessive, not cruel. Just, sure. Jinx gasped softly into the kiss, knees weakening as Jin's other hand slid to his waist, holding him steady. Jinoo guided Jinx away from the wall, leading him deeper into the apartment. Jinoo paused, looking down at him seriously. "This isn't just my rut," he said, "or instinct." Jinx nodded and leaned in again. The kiss they shared then was deeper, hungrier. Jin's thoughts wrapped around Jinx like a shield, like an embrace that went far beyond skin. "I've got you," Jinwoo murmured through the bond. "Always." Jinx closed his eyes, leaning into him fully at last, trusting him completely. The door closed quietly behind them, and the rest of the night belonged only to them. The next morning, Jinx woke slowly. Warmth pressed against his back, and a steady arm wrapped around his waist like it had always belonged there. For a few seconds, he didn't move. Then it hit him. "Jinwoo, mate." Everything that had happened last night rushed back in fragments. Jin's rut, the way Jinwoo had looked at him like there was nowhere else he wanted to be. Jinx's ears burned. "You're awake," a voice murmured in his mind, low and amused. Jinx stiffened, then relaxed when he realized he wasn't scared. "Not anymore. You're not supposed to be in my head first thing in the morning," he replied, half embarrassed, half annoyed. A soft laugh vibrated against his back as Jinwoo shifted closer. Jinx rolled over despite himself, coming face to face with him. Jinwoo looked different like this, hair messy, expression relaxed, eyes warm, instead of sharp. No CEO, no alpha intimidation, just Jinwoo. "You okay?" Jinwoo asked quietly, a rare trace of uncertainty in his voice. "Last night was a lot." Jinx studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." He hesitated. Jinwoo leaned closer, forehead resting against Jinx. "We can take it slow, on your terms." "Mostly," he added teasingly through the bond. Jinx huffed. "Behave." "I'll try," Jinwoo replied, clearly lying. Sunlight spilled through the window, warming the room. Jinx relaxed into Jinwoo's hold, finally allowing himself to believe this wasn't something he'd imagined or something that would disappear when the day started. This was real, and for the first time since he'd started hearing thoughts that weren't his own, Jinx felt completely at peace with it. The end.